Good evening to all of you. Hope all are doing well. So, today topic is uh, very interesting, very practical, and very easy topic. The name of the topic: tax invoice, debit note, credit note. Multiple document we will discuss, and then we will end with the e-invoicing and dynamic QR code concept. This is the today agenda. Let me start with the tax invoice. Very good evening, Hemant, and very good evening, Satish, Oja, and everyone. What is the tax invoice? Tax invoice, whenever there is a supply, whenever there is a supply, supplier has to issue the tax invoice. It can be goods, it can be for services. Now, the supplier can be under the regular category of registration, under casual taxable person, composition registered person. So in all such cases, the requirement of the document will change. Quickly give me the answer. Composition taxable person, whether he can collect the tax from the customer or not. एक बार आप मुझे क्विकली आंसर दीजिए, क्या कंपोजिशन टैक्सेबल पर्सन टैक्स कलेक्ट कर सकता है कस्टमर से? आंसर इज नो. एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट एंड रिक्वेस्टिंग एवरीवन, आप चैट में एक्टिव रहिएगा. माय रिक्वेस्ट टू एवरीवन, आप लोग चैट में एक्टिव रहिएगा. व्हेनेवर आई आस्क द क्वेश्चन, काइंडली गिव द रिप्लाई. स्लाइटली यू माइट फील आवाज slight problem because of the throat infection. I hope you are able to understand whatever I am saying. थोड़ा सा throat का infection है, but we will manage. Now, you have given the absolutely correct answer that composition taxable person cannot collect the tax from the customer, and then which document he will issue? Can you tell me from your experience, either practical experience or based on the inter study? Can you tell me the name of the document which composition dealer will issue from to the customer while he make the supply? Absolutely correct. Answer is Hemant, Ginny. Answer is the name of the document which composition dealer will issue to the customer at the time of the making the supply. No problem. The answer is bill of supply. Correct. Now section 31. Section 31 says that you are supplying the goods. If you are supplying the goods, then invoice can be issued. The word before is given or at that time. The word before give the simple answer, can I issue the invoice in advance? Answer is yes, because 31 says that yes, I can issue the invoice before the supply also. Before the removal of the goods for supply. So section 31 giving the upper cap, last date to issue the tax invoice. If it is goods and goods involve the movement of the goods, then last date would be the date of the removal. And in any other case, it will be the delivery of the goods, making available thereof to the recipient. Fine. This is the basic requirement. If it is goods, then you know the last date to issue the tax invoice. But if it is services, then what is the last date? If it is services, then what is the last date? The last date is being given in the rule. I'll issue the tax invoice within prescribed time. So the time we will read in the rule, we will go to the rules also, and then we will be able to understand what is the time limit to issue the invoice for supply the service. Correct? And it proviso says that government have the power to issue the notification, specify the category in respect of which tax invoice shall be issued within such time, such manner as may be prescribed, subject to the condition, specify the category of the services in respect of which any other document shall be deemed to be the tax invoice or tax invoice is not required to be issued. Now try to understand. Government will specify that in which case either tax invoice is not at all required or it can be in any other manner. I'm giving you one example. Like if I'm a multiplex cinema or I'm a passenger transportation service provider, in that case, the ticket which I'm issuing, it shall be deemed to be the tax invoice, subject to some condition that we will discuss. But the point is, government has the power. क्या पावर है कि सर्विस के केस में only in case of the services, not in case of the goods. So we will, in between, we'll do the discussion, the invoice in case of special circumstances, wherein you will read like banks, you will read like GTA, Goods Transport Agency. Correct? Now, the 31 subsection 3, it talk about the multiple document. Now, before reading this, I like to test everyone. I like to ask everyone because you have the practical experience as well as you have done the study in the intermediate. Great, right, Hemant? But we will discuss. But more or less, you are right. At one place you are right, but Hemant हम बात करेंगे. अभी मुझे बताइए. Now tell me, 31 subsection 3 talks about multiple document. First, tell me what is the name of the document in which case? In case of the reverse charge, recipient are required to be issued. Can you tell me the name of the document in case of the reverse charge recipient is required to be issued? That will be prepared by the recipient in case of RCM. Anyone knows? Very nice, Satish. Very nice. Absolutely correct, Satish. बहुत बढ़िया बेटा. I am asking to everyone, Gyanendra, Hemant, Oja Jini, do you know the answer that if RCM is applicable? If RCM is applicable, then recipient is required to issue. RCM chapter हो गया ना हमारा. Whether RCM chapter has been completed from a respective faculty. एक बात बताइए, RCM chapter हो गया हमारा. होना चाहिए. Then I am expecting from everyone you should know the answer. No problem. So, have you heard the name of the self invoice?
Yes, sir.
Suppose if RCM is applicable, now assume that you are advocate and I am your customer. You are giving the advocate service to me. Then RCM is applicable as per the relevant notification. In that case, if you are not registered, then I, being a recipient, will issue the invoice named as self invoice. Second requirement for the case of reverse charge. Whenever I will make the payment to you, then it will be payment voucher. GST. talks about the payment voucher का requirement only in case of RCM. See, I am the person who might making the payment for expenditure, who might making the payment to the vendor, who might making the payment to the government. My payment voucher would be one, but in the GST, these are not the payment voucher. What is the payment voucher according to the GST? Only when I am making the payment to the supplier, which supplier who are under reverse charge. मैं अगर ट्रांसपोर्टर को पेमेंट कर रहा हूं, it will covered under reverse charge. I am making the payment to the advocate, legal services, it is under reverse charge. What is the differentiation in the self invoice and payment voucher? What is the difference in the self invoice and the payment voucher? Can anybody tell me what is the difference between the self invoice and payment voucher?
In self invoicing, the recipient will take credit and pay the liability book in such a way.
And in the payment voucher?
In payment voucher, they will make monthly payment entry, payment to supplier.
No problem. Now tell me, payment self invoice will be prepared in case of the reverse charge transaction. Payment voucher will also be prepared in case of the reverse charge transaction. Supplier is registered, and assume that if supplier is unregistered, will self invoice be applicable if the supplier is registered? Give me the answer in the chat.
No.
Will the self invoice be applicable? Answer is no. The self invoice is applicable only in case when the supplier is unregistered, but payment voucher would be applicable in both the cases. This is only the differentiation, that that self invoice is basically because supplier is not registered, therefore the government has fixed the responsibility on the recipient to make the document. From 1st November 2024, it is not applicable for your exam if you are appearing in the May. But if you are appearing in the November 25, it is applicable. Now they have fixed the time limit. They have fixed the time limit to make the self invoice. Very important point. आज तक लॉ में कोई टाइम लिमिट नहीं थी सेल्फ इनवॉइस बनाने की. द फर्स्ट टाइम rule 47 capital A has been inserted, and they are saying what is the time limit to make the self invoice. We will discuss, but this is the big difference. Now tell me, if I'm receiving the advance, do I suppose you are my customer now, I am making the supply of the goods, you are giving the advance to me, do I need to pay the tax at the time of advance?
In the case of goods, not required. In case of services, required, sir.
I request everyone, अगर आप chat use करेंगे, it will be appreciated, so that everyone will be active while giving the reply. Yes, in the last half an hour, I'll give the opportunity to ask any question by unmuting yourself. But Gyanendra and everyone, I request everyone to use the chat. Now you have completed the time of supply chapter. You tell me, yes or no? Have you completed the time of supply chapter? Just now you have given the answer to me that in case of the goods, it is not applicable. But in case of services, it is applicable. Tell me one thing. Is it correct or there is some changes? Now tell me one more thing. Online money gaming, is it goods or services? Online money gaming is a goods or services? Gyanendra, kindly give the answer in the chat. Online money gaming is a goods or services? The answer is goods. Absolutely correct. It is goods because it is actionable claim only. It is actionable claim, and we know that goods ka definition says that actionable claim is a goods. Till the time we are saying that no GST on advance for supply the goods. Now I can say one exception has been given by the government. What is that exception? Online money gaming. If transaction is online money gaming, which is goods, and if the supplier receiving the advance, he need to discharge the liability at the time of advance for supply of the goods also, because the notification which was talking about no GST for advance, that has been changed. Is that clear? But अभी मेरा ये topic नहीं है. My topic is if I am receiving the advance, which document I will issue? If I am receiving the advance, which document I will issue to my customer? The name is, if you are my customer, you are giving the advance. Let's say I'm doing the service only. I'm a teacher and you are depositing the fees in advance to me. Which document I will issue? Let's say I'm not issuing the tax invoice. तो कौन सा document issue करूंगा मैं? The name of the document is receipt voucher. Name of the document is receipt voucher. Now beauty is that the provision says that whether you receive the advance or goods or services, whether you are required to pay the tax or not, that they are not talking about anything. Simply say, if you have given the advance to me, whether I'm supplying the goods or services, I need to issue the receipt voucher. Gyanendra, are you agree with this point that we need to pay the GST on advance if it is online money gaming? Because you have given the answer, that therefore I'm asking to you. Now, what is the revised invoice? What is the revised invoice? A registered person within 1 month from the date of certificate of registration. Assume that I have registered. Assume that I have taken the registration. I have applied for the registration on, let's say, 1st January. We are taking the 3 dates. The 3 dates are date of liability. My date of liability is 1st Jan, and I have applied on, let's say, 20th Jan GST registration application, and my certificate is being granted on 5th of Feb. मुझे certificate कब मिल गया? 5th Feb को. This is my date of liability. This is my date of application, and this is my date of granting of registration certificate. 31 subsection 3 clause A says that whatever the supply, you have given between 1st Jan 5th Feb, then from 5th Feb within 1 month, you will issue the revised invoice. Because my recipient won't be able to take ITC, right? My recipient won't have the tax invoice, proper tax invoice. My recipient will not be able to see the transaction in the GSTR 2B. Therefore, it is being said that from the date of issuance of the certificate, in my example, 5th Feb, issue the revised invoice. Revised invoice, why? Against the invoice already issued. Between which period? Beginning with the effective date of registration. What is the meaning of effective date of registration? You can recall the chapter of registration wherein we have discussed that what is the meaning of the effective date of registration. So because I have made the application within 30 days, so my effective date will be the 1st Jan. So 1st Jan to till the date of issuance of the certificate, whatever supply I have given, then within 1 month I will issue the revised invoice. Now it says that if the registered person is making the supply less than 200 rupees, he has the option to consolidate the tax invoice. Registered person may not issue the tax invoice if the value is less than 200 rupees, subject to such condition restriction as may be prescribed. We will discuss in the rule 46 the requirement of the petty, this 200 rupees ka voucher sales. If I am registered under section 10, if I am registered under section, or I am registered under regular category but making the exempted supply. If I'm registered under regular category, I am making the exempt supply, or I am registered under the composition levy, then the name of the document will be, as you correctly told, the name of the document will be the bill of supply. Again, there is a provision of the 200, less than 200, consolidation can be done, but it should be daily basis. Receipt voucher we have already discussed. What is the refund voucher? You have given the advance to me. I have not issued the tax invoice to you. I have issued the receipt voucher. And assume that if supply has not been given because of any reason, our agreement is cancelled. Whatever you have given the advance to me, I will return to you. For returning the money to you, I will issue the refund voucher. Then, in case of the RCM, whether it is 93 or 94, then I will issue the invoice if supplier is unregistered. That is self-invoice. And in case of the RCM, the payment voucher would always be required when we are making, recipient is making the payment to the supplier. Now, please note, they have inserted the explanation. It says that for this purpose, supplier who is not registered shall include the supplier who is registered only for the purpose of deduction at source. What is the meaning? Meaning means, let's say government is making the supply to A. Let's say it is a property or any service. We all know that by virtue of the 9(3), government services are comes under reverse charge, except post office, etc. Service provider is government. Recipient is A. Now he is paying the tax under reverse charge. He is paying the tax under RCM. Now, will he prepare the self invoice? Will he prepare the self invoice? because the government is only registered for the purpose of TDS under section 51. Assume that government is registered in the GST, but only for the purpose of tax deduction at source. They are saying, yes, RCM is applicable, self-invoice is applicable. RCM applicable hai ya nahi, that you need to read the respective provision. But here, he will prepare the self-invoice because of this explanation. In case of continuous supply of the goods, please note, we are talking about goods, and in the services, we will talk about in the subsection 5. In case of the continuous supply of the goods, when what is the last date to issue the tax invoice? The tax invoice when the successive statement of the account or payment, whichever is earlier. So suppose I am a supplier of the goods to you on a continuous basis. Then in that case, let's say I'm issuing the invoice, not invoice. I'm issuing the statement of accounts on weekly basis, and you are making the payment on fortnightly. Whichever is earlier, that will be the last day to issue the tax invoice. So it is a continuous supply of the goods, but I will issue the tax invoice. I will not look into the date of the removal of the goods. Because अगर ये continuous supply the goods है, तो मैं successive statement or payment, whichever is earlier, that I will consider. But in case of the continuous supply of the services, the answer is different. What is the answer? It has been divided in 3 parts. If the due date is ascertainable from the contract, so let's say I'm a service provider. Let's take an example of work contract. So you have the factory, you have outsourced that work to Mr. A. He is providing the work contract service to you, and it take, let's say, 6 months. Why this time I'm using the word 6 months? Why I am using the word 6 months? Anybody can give me the reason? When I was giving the example of the goods, I was not talking about the time limit. But when I'm giving the example of services, I'm using the time limit. Why? The reason is, if you read the definition of the continuous supply of the service, if you read the definition of the continuous supply of the service, it says that it should be more than 3 months. इसकी सप्लाई को कंटिन्यूस सप्लाई ऑफ द गुड्स कहने के लिए जीएसटी लॉ डज नॉट मैंडेट नंबर ऑफ द डेज का रिक्वायरमेंट, बट फॉर सर्विसेज to be considered as continuous supply of the service, they are asking 2 things. It should be for a continuous period of 90 days, plus it should be periodic payment. There has to be some payment, periodically payment. It can be quarterly, it can be monthly, it can be half yearly, it can be yearly, whatever. But there has to be the periodic payment. So whenever you are talking about continuous supply of the service, these 2 things has to be there. Now, what is the last date to issue the tax invoice? If the due date is ascertainable from the contract, then on or before the due date. If it is not ascertainable from the contract, then at the time when the supplier receive the payment, at the time when the supplier receive the payment, and if the payment is linked to the completion of an event, let's say is constructing your floor, Then suppose agreement says that once first floor is completed, then I will make you the payment of 20%. Second floor is completed, I will make you the payment of 15%. Structure is completed, I will make you some payment. When every finishing is being done, I will make you this percentage. If the completion of an event के साथ अगर पेमेंट को लिंक कर दिया, then what is the last date to issue the tax invoice? Once the event is completed. Whether a customer make the payment to the supplier or not make the payment to the supplier, it is immaterial. Fine. 31 subsection 6 says that suppose if contract is ceases, then whatever the work is completed, then invoice has to be issued up to the extent of that supply has been made before the breach or break of the contract. So once the contract is in between, it is completed, let's say broken, then जितना भी काम पहले complete हुआ है, he has to issue the tax invoice. Very important, subsection 7. Sales on approval. Sales on approval. What is the sales on approval? Time limit to tax. What is the time limit to issue the tax invoice? It says 6 months. Supplier is sending the goods to the recipient. Normally, if it is a single transaction, we can say the date of the removal of the goods will be the last date. But 31 subsection 7 giving the additional time limit. When? If it is a supply, then no. If it is not a supply, the supply is depend upon the customer once he receive the goods, whether he accept or reject. This provision says that in that case, you are not required to issue the tax invoice at the time of removal of the goods, but you can wait maximum 6 months. Either he will accept customer or he will return the goods. If he will do nothing, then within 6 months, you will consider the same as sale. 6 months from the date of the removal, whichever is earlier, that will be the last date to issue the tax invoice. We were talking about time limit to issue the invoice for the supply of the services. Normally, it says 30 days. Normally, in case of the services, it is 30 days. If it is insurance or banking company or financial institution or NBFC, in that case, the time limit will be 45 days. And quickly tell me, what is the meaning of distinct person? What is the meaning of distinct person? क्या कोई मुझे बता सकता है what is the meaning of distinct person? Can anybody tell me what is the meaning of distinct person? होता क्या है distinct person? They are giving the additional time limit. Instead of 45 days, they are giving the time limit till quarter. But in which case, if the supply has been given to the distinct person. If supply has been given to the distinct person, what is the meaning of the distinct person? Yes. Multiple GST number under one PAN. Thank you very much, Hemant, and thank you very much, Ojajini. So, suppose A has one PAN, obviously PAN number would be 1, 3 registration. One is in Karnataka, second is in Maharashtra, third is in Rajasthan. And they are making the supply to each other, let's say. Then it is an Supply between distinct persons. The proviso says that in case of the banking, insurance, financial institution, NBFC, and this word has been added additionally. Please read this. You will not find telecom operator. But in this proviso, they have added the telecom operator. If they are making the supply to the distinct person, so one ICICI Bank, Maharashtra is issuing the tax invoice to ICICI Bank, Rajasthan. Then normal time limit, okay, but they have given the additional time limit. Once they will record the same in the books of accounts at that point of time or expiry of the quarter. Max to max, they have given the time limit of the 1 quarter. Now quickly tell me the answer. Quickly tell me the answer. If telecom operator, let's say Airtel, is issuing the tax invoice to XYZ Limited, what is the time limit to issue the tax invoice for their service? What is the time limit to issue the tax invoice to XYZ Limited? Is it 30 days? Is it 45 days? Is it 1 quarter? You tell me. What is the time limit to issue the tax invoice by telecom operator other than distinct person? Will it fall in this category? Answer is no. It means the basic time limit of 30 days would be applicable. Basic time limit of 30 days would be applicable. Now let's revise whatever we have discussed. Just in the 5 minutes, we'll try to revise. My request would be everyone please give the answer. Everyone please give the answer. I'll try my best to revise everything whatever discussed. If it is a supply of the goods, what is the last date to issue the tax invoice? Goods are movable. What is the last date to issue the tax invoice? Quickly give the answer. अगर ये supply of the goods है and goods are movable, what is the last date to issue the tax invoice? Answer is absolutely correct, Hemant. Date of the removal of the goods. Date of the removal of the goods. If it is a continuous supply of the goods, then what is the last date? If it is a continuous supply of the goods, then what is the last date? अगर ये continuous supply of the goods होता तो last date क्या था इनवॉइस इशू करने का? Absolutely, statement of account or payment, whichever is earlier. Very nice, Satish and Hemant, both. I request rest of the participant to give the answer. I request rest of the participant to give the answer. Okay. Okay. Mr. Harshit Kumar has also given the answer in the ICAI panel of that board of study faculties wala. K. Prashant has also given the answer. Very nice. Amit Gupta has given the answer. Very nice. So K. Prashant, Amit Gupta, and Harshit, I request please also join the Zoom link. It would be better. मेरा रिक्वेस्ट है कि आप जूम लिंक को भी ज्वाइन कर लीजिए. इट वुड बी अप्रिशिएटेड. मतलब मजा आएगा डिस्कशन करने में. एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. माय वीडियो एंड ऑडियो इज एवरीथिंग इज ओके ना? माय वीडियो इज ओके? हाँ, you can. Oza Jini, please join the class again. No problem. You can quit and then join again. So What was my next question? What is my next question? If I am making the continuous supply the service, what is the last date to issue the tax invoice? If I'm making the continuous supply the service, what is the last date to issue the tax invoice? Quickly give the answer. Quickly give the answer. 30 days, 45 days, quarter, or something else. 30 days, 45 days, quarter, or something else. Absolutely correct. Gyanendra, very nice. It will be based on the agreement. This time it will be based on the agreement. If the payment date, if the due date is ascertainable, then that date. If due date is not ascertainable, then if the agreement is not talking about the due date, then what will be the last date to issue the tax invoice? अगर ड्यू डेट नहीं है एग्रीमेंट में, तो लास्ट डेट टू इश्यू द टैक्स इनवॉइस क्या होगा? What will be the last date to issue the tax invoice? Then actual payment. Actual payment. And the additional thing is being written, if the payment is linked to the completion of an event, then answer is yes. Right, Hemant? It will be once event will be completed that way. Can you tell me, in case of the continuous supply of the goods, in case of the continuous supply of the services, where there is a requirement of minimum number of days, कितना दिन होना ही चाहिए supply, whether it is continuous supply the goods or services, where there is a requirement minimum number of the 3 months, there has to be there to treat the transaction as a complete continuous supply of the goods or services. Absolutely correct. Continuous supply the services में number of the days का requirement है, number of the days का requirement है. If I am receiving the advance from you, which document I will issue? Now tell me, if I am receiving the advance from you, which document I will issue? No problem, Venkata Arshit. No problem, no problem. You can continue in this. I will see your answer in the chat, in the panel. You can give the answer. If I'm receiving the advance from you, then which document I will issue? Receipt voucher. It is the receipt voucher. When the payment voucher would be applicable? When the payment voucher would be applicable? When the payment voucher would be applicable? When the payment voucher would be applicable. When the payment voucher would be applicable. Absolutely correct. In case of the reverse charge, it is applicable. Payment voucher would be prepared when the supplier is registered or supplier is unregistered, or both cases. Payment voucher would be prepared when the supplier is registered or unregistered, or both cases. Payment voucher will be prepared in case of the reverse charge if supplier is registered, unregistered, or both. Answer is both. What is the name of the document? What is the name of the other document which is prepared if the advance is returned and supply is not being completed? Very simple. Very nice, Venkata. So, last question. What is the when in normal case? What is the last date to issue the tax invoice in case of the service? Normal service. What is the last date? What is the last date in normal cases? What is the last date to issue the invoice in case of service? Normal time limit 30 days. In some cases, the time limit is 45 days. When the time limit is 45 days? In some cases, the time limit is 45 days. Yes, banking, insurance, etc. Whether 45 days is applicable to the telecom also? 45 days is applicable to the telecom also? Answer is no. Answer is no. Then last is, if these telecom operator banking are providing the services to the distinct person, then what is the last date? If they are providing the service, then what is the last date? Yes, they can enjoy the date when they are booking the same or 1 quarter. So effectively, I can say either they can issue the invoice within 1 quarter or the date when they have entered in the books of accounts, whichever is earlier, I can simply say. Very nice. We have done the revision also. Now, what is the last date to issue the tax invoice if my is removed? It is sales on approval. If it is removed on the condition of sales on approval basis, then what is the last date to issue the tax invoice? Answer is 6 months. Answer is maximum time limit is 6 months. And the same concept is being used in the circular. The circular we will discuss 108, but remember that concept has been used. In which two case bill of supply will be issued? In which two case bill of supply would be issued? The name of the document would be bill of supply. In which two cases the bill of supply would be issued? Very nice, very nice. मजा आ गया, मजा आ गया. Very nice, Satish, Gyanendra, Hemant, and here Venkata. Venkata, it is okay now if I'm use the word only Venkata? It is okay, right? Because your full name is very long. So if I will use Venkata only, that is sufficient, right? Is that okay? Let's move further. The circular 180 says that you are sending the goods out of India, but what is the purpose? For exhibition or on consignment for export promotion. So first question they have answered, because you are sending the goods for exhibition or for export promotion, it is not the supply as per section 7. They are saying it is not the supply as per section 7. Correct? So take schedule 1. If you are not covered in the schedule 1 also, if you are not covered in the schedule 1 also, then they are saying the activity of sending the goods out of India for exhibition or for consignment is not the supply. Because it is not the supply, therefore no requirement of issue the invoice of tax invoice. There is no requirement to issue the tax invoice. Oh, okay, Ashutosh. Take it. Ashutosh. Now they are using the concept of 31.7. They are saying that if specified goods which is being taken out of India, it has to be sold, or if it is not sold within 6 months, then it has to come back within 6 months. If not, then yes, it will be deemed supply on the expiry of the 6 month. If the specified goods are sold fully or partially within the specified period of 6 months, that supply is effected. In that case, center shall issue the tax invoice, whatever it is being sold. If the goods are not sold or not brought back, then within 6 months, then the sender issue the tax invoice on the expiry of the 6 months from the date of the removal. in respect of such quantity which has been neither sold or nor brought back in accordance with the provision. Fine. So by this, we have completed the basic concept. Now we are moving to the multiple content of the document, wherein I will read in detail Rule 46, but rest I will not read. Means I will not read the content of the bill of supply. I will not read the content of the delivery chalan. Almost are similar. Yes, one or 2 points are different, that we will discuss. I hope that is okay. Now, content of the tax invoice. Let me stop the sharing and asking to all to tell me what should be the content of the tax invoice. Give me 4 or 5 name or 4 or 5 content कि that tax invoice पर ये 5 चीजें तो होनी चाहिए. You are regularly seeing the tax invoice in your practical cases situation. Daily basis में आप tax invoice देखते हैं. You based on that or based on the understanding, tell me what should be the content of the tax invoice. I can bet on that. Mostly 8 और 10 तो आप ही बता देंगे. 8 or 10 you will tell. Even more than that. So Ashutosh, the question to you that एक tax invoice पर क्या क्या content होना चाहिए. I am reading, I am explaining the rule 46. Oh, great. Date, name, address, GST number, quantity, description, rate, value, HSN, Y, next 9 HSN, POS, very nice, GST amount, very nice. I told you ना कि that आप मुझे 8-10 तो आप बता ही दोगे वैसे. Absolutely applicable tax rate. Now let's read one by one. So in the first, there is nothing to explain. Name, address, and the GST number of the supplier. Perfect. Consecutive serial number not exceeding 16 character. In one or multiple series. Containing some special character and any combination thereof unique for a financial year. Please give me the answer to my question. Please give the answer to my question. Read the clause B. Give me the answer to my question. I am providing the teaching to you. Also, I am having my office for practice. Can I issue 2 different series? One series for teaching, one series for practicing office, consulting. क्या मैं 2 series के invoice रख सकता हूँ? Let's say for teaching I have given that TE/1 or for consulting I have given CONS/1. Can I use the 2 different series? Answer is yes. Very nice. All are correct. Tell me one thing. Can I use percentage? Can I use underscore? Can I use question mark in the invoicing series? No. Only 2 special characters are allowed. Only 2 special characters are allowed. One is dash or slash, one is hyphen. Absolutely correct. Now, very interesting question. Very interesting question. Suppose my last invoice number on 31st March is 474. My last invoice number of 31st March is 474. On 1st April next financial year, can I start from 475? Or it should be compulsory 1? Or should it be compulsorily 1? Number 1. Can I start from 475 or should it be compulsory number 1? Very, very important question, I can say. आशुतोष, क्या व्यू है? तो आशुतोष बताओ आपका क्या व्यू है? We've seen that is okay. Everyone will start from number 1, will be very good. Some are using 1/financial year also, 23, 24, 24, 25. It will be good, but I'm asking different question. Can I start from 475? Will the law restrict me? Practice, I do agree with all of you that in the market normally they are using from number 1. Absolutely correct. But let's say I'm asking from the law point of view. Can I do the starting number 475? Yes or no? Answer is yes. Please note, they are only using one word, that is unique. They are only using one word, that is unique. It means this 475 should not be repeated in the entire financial year. Then law does not have any problem. Law are not saying that it should compulsorily start with the 1. No, it's your choice. You can start in between number, no problem. But make sure that this number should not be repeated only for that financial year. नेक्स्ट ईयर में रिपीट हो तो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है सर. उसके अगले साल में लेट्स से आई हैव इशूड द 500 टैक्स इनवॉइस, तो 475 आई हैव यूज्ड इन द नेक्स्ट ईयर, नो प्रॉब्लम. यूनिकनेस is required only for one financial year, not for entire life. Correct? Date, you all have given the answer. Name, address and GST number if registered of the recipient. You all have given the answer. Here there is a concept of 50,000 and less than 50,000. Try to understand. Here there is a concept of more than 50, less than 50. Try to understand. The value is 50,000 or more, then name, address and delivery address along with name of the state and code if recipient is unregistered and value is 50K or more. You need the complete address. Next is name, address and delivery address along with name of the state and code if the recipient is unregistered and value is less than and customer demand. Customer is saying to record. In that case, you need to write everything. More than, equal to more than 50,000, it is compulsorily required. Less than 50,000, law does not put your restriction. Yes, they are saying it is required if customer demand. Now see, one proviso is being added. One proviso is being added in the clause F. It means if it is the online money gaming is a goods or services? Online money gaming, goods or service? Online money gaming, goods or service? याद रखना हमेशा, हमेशा याद रखना. The chances of mistakes are there कि online, it means something is online. Goods we can physically touch, but money gaming we can't physically touch. But still it is a goods, because if you read the definition of the goods, section 2 clause 52, the goods ka definition says it include actionable claim, and read the schedule 3, actionable claim are excluded, and they have defined the word specified actionable claim which has the online money gaming. So they are saying if the supply is online money gaming, or if it is supplied through e-commerce operator, or if it is OIDAR services online information database access retrieval services. Who is unregistered? Recipient is unregistered. Then they are saying irrespective of the value, the registered person का जो tax invoice है shall contain the name of the state of the recipient. Now they are saying only name of the state. And what is the word they have used? The same shall be deemed to be the address on the record of the recipient. Now, why they have used this word? Why they have used this word? It shall be deemed to be the address on the record of the recipient. Why? क्या कोई मुझे लॉजिक बता सकता है? Really appreciate if you can give me the correct logic of only these lines. Shall be deemed to be the address on the record of the recipient. On the record of the address on record of the recipient. Can anybody give me the logic कि ऐसा क्यों लिखा लेजिस्लेचर में? ओके 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 The answer absolutely correct. Place of supply. Is it to identify which tax to be charged? To some extent answer is yes, but that is not correct answer. Exactly वो आंसर नहीं है, क्योंकि स्टेट का नाम लिख दिया तो मुझे मालूम चल जाएगा ना कौन सा टैक्स चार्ज करना है. Try to understand, sir. Very very beautiful thing. Then there's, अगर मैंने स्टेट का नाम लिख दिया तो सफिशिएंट है या नहीं है? सफिशिएंट है. बट दे आर सेइंग एड्रेस ऑन रिकॉर्ड मान लिया जाएगा, ऐसा क्यों लिखा? गो टू द प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई प्रोविजन, गो टू द पीओएस प्रोविजन. याद करो सेक्शन 12, रिकॉल द सेक्शन 12. व्हाट इज द जनरल प्रिंसिपल? आई माई सेल्फ एज एक्सप्लेन. प्लेस ऑफ सप्लाई का क्लास तो मैंने ही लिया था ना. क्यों? ज्ञानेंद्र, सतीश, ओझाजीनी, मैंने क्लास लिया था ना. ओझाजीनी आई थिंक मैंने तो शायद आपको, आप ही ने मुझे करेक्ट किया था. करेक्ट ना? एक या 2 पॉइंट. हेमंत, क्यों लिखा? रिकॉल द सेक्शन 12 सबसेक्शन 2 ऑफ आईजीएसटी एक्ट. प्लेस ऑफ द सप्लाई, अगर B2C का ट्रांजेक्शन है, इन दैट केस प्लेस ऑफ द सप्लाई विल बी एड्रेस विच यू हैव रिकॉर्ड ऑन द address on the record. But sir, if I am making the supply to n location and I have only state, will it be considered as address of record? अगर मेरे पास सिर्फ स्टेट का नाम है, कंप्लीट एड्रेस नहीं है, तो क्या माना जाएगा ये एड्रेस ऑन रिकॉर्ड है? किस पर्पस के लिए? और पीओएस का लोकेशन के लिए. रिकॉल द सेक्शन 12 सब सेक्शन 2 का जनरल प्रिंसिपल. इट सेज इफ B2C का सप्लाई है और एड्रेस अगर रिकॉर्ड है, then in that case the place of supply will be that state. If address on record is not available, then it will be C plus S. तो अब देखो, सोचिए इस एग्जाम्पल में, इस सिचुएशन में, I have only the name of the state, I do not have the complete address. Will it still be place of supply of that state? Answer is yes. Why? Because they are saying it will be deemed to be the address on the record. Able to understand what I like to explain? समझ में आया मैं क्या कहना चाहता हूं? I do agree. Everyone has linked to the place of the supply. Really appreciate it. But additionally मैं क्या कहना चाहता हूं कि वहां पे तो स्टेट का नाम भी सफिशिएंट है ना. हाँ, पर क्यों फिर उन्होंने ये बोला कि deemed to be address on the record? Because in case of the B2C supply general principle, if you do not have the address on the record, it will be place of supply will change. Make sense? एक बार कंफर्म करना. ठीक है ना? ठीक है, ये बढ़ते हैं. मैं ट्राई कर रहा हूँ, फिर भी आई होप मैं कोशिश कर रहा हूँ, थोड़ा सा प्रॉब्लम है बोलने में, मैं मानता हूँ, लेकिन आई होप यू आर एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड ना। मैं कोशिश कर रहा हूँ कि कोई ज्यादा प्रॉब्लम नहीं हो आपको एक्सप्लेन करने में। एवरीथिंग इज करेक्ट ना, क्लियर ना प्रोविजन के रिगार्ड में? लेट्स मूव फर्दर। ठीक है अभिषेक, वेरी नाइस। आशुतोष सॉरी, आगे बढ़ते हैं। नेक्स्ट पॉइंट इज, next point is HSN code, or we all know that in case of goods we are using the word HSN, and in case of the services we are normally using the word SAC code, service accounting code. Description, quantity you already told, total value yes you have already told, taxable value you already told, rate of the taxes, amount of the taxes ये भी आपने बता दिया था, POS ये भी आपने बता दिया था, delivery address if it is different from the POS. Yes. Tax is payable under reverse charge. Whenever the suppose I am advocate and I am issuing the tax invoice because I am registered in the GST, so I will issue the tax invoice to my customer. Then in that case, I will declare the tax is payable under reverse charge. Signature or digital signature. Now, this clause R, clause S, we will discuss in e-invoicing. I have kept here only so that it should be complete. But yes, I have copy paste in the e-invoicing chapter as well. E-invoicing slide also. At that point of time, I will explain what is the use of clause R, what is the use of clause S. Okay. Yes, government can by notification specify the number of the digit of HSN code. Okay. If it is export or SEZ, then instead of state, you should have the name of the country. So you will contain the name and address of the recipient, delivery address, and name of the country. Now the proviso says that registered person other than the supplier engage in making the supply of service by way of cinematographic film may not issue the tax invoice in accordance with the provision of 31(3)(b). 31(3)(b), what is that? What is the 31(3)(b)? 200 less than 200 petty voucher. I can issue the consolidated tax invoice when it says that if I am making the supply the service by way of admission or exhibition to the cinematographic film in the multiplex screen, then not issue the tax invoice in accordance with the 31(3)(b), subject to the following condition: if customer is not registered and customer does not require, then I can issue the consolidated tax invoice. Can consolidation happen on monthly basis? No, sir. On each day. Please note, can the consolidation be happen on monthly basis? Answer is no. This monthly consolidation was there. Monthly consolidation was there in case of the RCM of 9(4). 9(4) का RCM में monthly consolidation is available where the requirement was less than 5,000 जो शुरू में था. In July 17 when the 9(4) was there up to 5,000 rupees, more than 5,000 rupees, something like that. अब वो provision नहीं है, तो monthly consolidation normal transaction में नहीं है. Signature or digital signature shall not be required in case of e-invoicing or QR code. I have the copy paste in the dynamic QR code reference. Rule 46 capital A says tax invoice and bill of supply, you can combine both. Tax invoice and bill of supply, you can combine both. If the customer is unregistered and you are making the supply of taxable item as well as exempted item together. Normally, if I'm making the taxable supplies, then I will issue the tax invoice. If I am making the exempt supply, I will issue the bill of supply. But Rule 46 capital A says you can combine both and keep the name of the document as invoice cum BOS. ये बोर्ड ऑफ स्टडीज मटेरियल, बोर्ड ऑफ स्टडीज की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ, इट इज बिल ऑफ सप्लाई. ठीक है. So now time limit to issue the, that we have discussed already. Sorry, Rule 47 we already discussed. Rule 47A, time limit for issuing the tax invoice in case when the recipient is required to issue the invoice. Self-invoicing. This is made effective from 1st November 24. So check your exam date and check the applicability provisions, whether it is applicable to your exam or not. But my dear friend, because of this, the time of supply provision has been changed. Go and check section 13 subsection 3. 13 subsection 3. What is that? In case of the RCM, what will be the time limit? What will be the time of supply in case of reverse charge? Service में पहले 2 time हुआ करती थी. Now they have added one more. What is the time limit to issue the tax invoice when the recipient is required to issue invoice? It means self-invoicing within a period of 30 days from the date of the receipt of goods or services, or both, as the case may be. Now, date of receipt of the goods is okay, but date of the receipt of service is very challenging. Date of the receipt of service is very challenging. Might be they would clarify something. What is the meaning of date of receipt of services? No problem. But Rule 47A is being added from 1st November to bring the time limit to issue the self invoice. अभी तक ये time limit नहीं था. Let's take a break of 7-8 minutes. We will resume at 7:20 and we'll start from Rule 48. Manish ji, Ajay ji, ब्रेक स्टार्ट कर दीजिएगा. manner of issuing the invoice. If you are making the supply of the goods, if you are making a supply of the goods, then your invoice would be in 3 copy: original for recipient, duplicate for transporter, triplicate for supplier. If you are making the supply of the service, then 2 copy: one supplier, one recipient. Serial number of the invoice issued shall be furnished electronically through the GSTR1 or GSTR1E, that we will discuss in the returns class in detail. 48.4 and 48.5 is basically the requirement of e-invoicing. 48.4 says that invoice shall be prepared by such class of the registered person as may be notified by the government, including such particular as contained in INV1, after obtaining IRN, invoice reference number, by uploading the detail on the electronic portal. It means government will issue the notification. They will specify the class of the person on which this 48.4 is applicable, and if it is applicable, then they will prepare the content, whatever it is required in INV1. After making the same, they will upload on the common portal and obtain the invoice reference number. I have the detailed discussion in the e-invoicing. I have taken certain screenshot also that I will explain. However, government can exempt certain person or class of the person from issuing the invoice. What is the time limit to issue the e-invoice? Answer is being given in the 48.5. Read the 48.5. Give me the answer. Suppose I am a taxpayer, supplier, invoicing provision is applicable to me. I am removing the goods. I have prepared the tax invoice. What is the time limit to prepare the e-invoice? Read 48.5. Give me the answer to my question. हेमंत, ज्ञानेंद्र, ओझा जीनी, सतीश, आशुतोष. Can I make the invoice in 7 days, 15 days, 30 days, 1 month, 90 days? Answer is it should be on real time basis. Means if you are saying that you have prepared the tax invoice, in the eyes of the law, it is not the document at all. Every invoice issued by the person of 48.4 means on which invoicing provision is applicable. If he is issuing the invoice in any manner other than the manner as specified, shall not be treated the invoice. It means the document to whom I am seeing the tax invoice, actually it is not the tax invoice. Officer can impose the penalty if goods is being detained in transit. Probably ITC would be question mark by the officer of the recipient. Penalty can be levied on me under section 122. I have supplied the goods without the cover of tax invoice. Because the document to whom I am saying the tax invoice, 48.5 saying that it is not the document at all. It is not the invoice at all. Always remember, what is the time limit to tax invoice? To issue e-invoice, answer is real time. Where it is written? It is written in the 48.5 in the indirect manner. Now, in case of special cases, Rule 54 is saying that in case of the input service distributor, so if I am head office and you are my branch, then I will issue the, so I have the accumulated credit which I can transfer to you through ISD mechanism. ITC accumulated on account of input service. So मैं head office हूँ, I have arranged the legal advocate or let's say chartered accountant for carrying out the audit of entire organization. So they will visit the branch, they will look out the various things of all location. I'm paying, let's say 5 lakh to that chartered accountant. So I will allocate the tax part of the 5 lakh between all the branches. How? As per the rule 39. For allocating the tax, for distributing the tax, I need to issue the ISD invoice. If I have excess distributed, then I will issue the ISD credit note. What is the requirement? Name, address, GST number of the ISD, consecutive serial number, same, date, recipient name, address, GST number, amount of the credit distributed, signature, digital signature. If ISD is an office of banking company, FI, NBFC, a tax invoice shall include any document by whatever name called, whether or not serially numbered, but contain the information as above. It means the actual tax invoice, actual ISD invoice is not required in case of the banking company. Whatever the document they will issue, if all these information are there, it will be sufficient. Registered person having the same PAN and state code as ISD may issue an invoice, or as the case may be, credit or debit note to transfer the credit of common input service to the ISD, which shall contain the following: name, GST number having the PAN and the same state code as ISD, consecutive serial number, date of issue, GST number of the supplier of common service, and original invoice number whose credit is sought to be transferred, name, address, and GST number of the ISD, taxable value, rate, and amount, signature, digital signature, etc. Now, for banking company, normally so let's say ICICI Bank, I have the corporate account with the ICICI Bank and they have charged 1,000 rupees for bank charges. The transaction is appearing in the bank statement. Transaction is appearing in the 2A, 2B, but I do not have the tax invoice. Can I take the ITC? Whether bank is required to issue the tax invoice? Answer is given in the Rule 54 sub Rule 2. If the supplier is insurance, banking, FI, NBFC, then they can issue the consolidated tax invoice, not transaction wise, consolidated, and not necessarily they have to issue the tax invoice. They can issue any other document. Will the bank statement be qualified as any other document? 100% yes. Will the bank statement be also qualified as document for taking the ITC? 100% yes, because Rule 54 sub Rule 2 says any other document. And if you read the FAQ series given by the CBIC in initial days of implementation of GST, the answer was yes. Or they can do the consolidation on monthly basis. Not necessarily physically, electronically it is okay. Whether or not serially numbered, whether not containing the address of the recipient, but containing other information as recorded in the Rule 46. Provided signature, digital signature, or in lieu thereof, consolidated action notes, and then there's a document if it has the IT information technology wala signature. In case of the GTA, what is the requirement? They are saying that in relation to the transportation goods by roads in the good carriage, the said supplier shall issue the tax invoice, any other document by whatever name called containing the gross weight, name of the consignor, name of the consignee, vehicle ka registration number, details of goods, place of origin, destination, GSTI number, person liable to pay the tax, whether it's consignor, consignee, or GTA, and also other information as Rule 46. Again, they are not required to issue tax invoice. They can issue any document in lieu thereof. Normally, in case of the transportation sector, what we are looking, normally we are looking the lorry receipt, consignment note, correct? These would be sufficient and treated as tax invoice if the transporter GT is registered. When the taxable services, passenger transportation service, a tax invoice will include the ticket, whether also not serially numbered or not contain the address. Again, digital signature or signature. Same admission to the exhibition or cinematographic film. Same thing. Okay. Now, delivery chalan. What is the delivery chalan? Rule 55 says that delivery chalan would be issued in 4 cases. Supplying the liquid gas at the time of removal from the place of the business of the supplier. Transportation of goods for job worker for reason other than supply, and such other supplies as may be notified by the board. Meaning thereby, I can have the 4 reasons if I'm supplying the liquid gas because quantity is not known at the time of supply or at the time of removal. Second, job work. Third, other than supply. Let's say I am having one seminar and for which I am carrying the goods, camera, laptop, or I am the work contractor. I'm doing the work in other location and for which I need my machinery. So I'm moving the goods because it is not the supply. My supply is work contract. So for these movement of the goods, I need to prepare the delivery chalan. Then last is such other supply as may be notified by the board. The consignor again may issue the delivery chalan serially numbered or not exceeding 16 character, date and number of the delivery chalan, GSTI number, customer, HSN code, quantity, taxable value, tax rate and amount, where the transportation is for the supply to the consignee, and place of the supply in case of interstate movement or signature. Delivery chalan would be prepared in 3 copies, one for consignee, second for consignor, and one for transport. Original for consignee, duplicate for transport, duplicate for consignor. Rule 138, what is that? E-way bill. That we will discuss in the next class probably. The goods are being transported on the delivery chalan in lieu of the tax invoice. Same shall be declared in the Rule 138. Rule 55, Sub-Rule 4 is giving the power is giving the possibility that when the goods being transported are for the purpose of supply to the recipient, but the tax invoice could not be issued at the time of the removal because of any reason. Let's say my system is not working. Can I remove on the basis of the delivery chalan? It is supply. It is not sales on approval. It is supply. But I could not make the tax invoice at the time of removal. Can I remove on the basis of the DC? The answer is given in the Rule 55, sub Rule 4. When the goods is being transported for the purpose of supply, then supplier shall issue the tax invoice after the delivery, but he can move the goods on the basis of the DC. Where the goods are being transported in a semi knockdown or complete knockdown or batch or lot, what would be the process? What would be the way to make the document? Suppose I have issued the tax invoice for 1 lakh quantity. I have only one tax invoice issued to my customer, but my customer will not be able to move the goods in one vehicle. Let's say he needed 3 vehicles. Or I have one machine which I sold to you, but it cannot be carried in one vehicle. It has to be dismantled. It's like going in the batch or lot or something like that. Then what would be the process? Rule 55 says supplier shall issue the complete invoice before the dispatch. Then issue the delivery chalan for each of the subsequent consignment, giving the reference of the invoice number. Each consignment shall be accompanied by copies of the corresponding delivery chalan, along with the duly certified copy of the invoice, and the original copy of the invoice shall be sent in the last consignment. That would be the process. Rule 55 says the tax invoice or bill of supply to accompany the transportation of goods. The person in charge shall carry the copy of the tax invoice or bill of supply issued in accordance with Rule 46 in a case where such person is not required to carry an e-way bill. Now, very, very important discussion, credit note or debit note. Before moving to the discussion, let me ask certain basic question to all, and I request everyone to give the answer based on your practical understanding. Yes, I do agree. We'll discuss. So you have asked one question. Asutosh, you have asked one question regarding the ISD that we will discuss at the end. Okay. Now let me ask the credit debit note. Can credit note or debit note be issued by the recipient instead of supplier? In the GST, क्या credit note और debit note recipient issue कर सकता है supplier की जगह? Can credit note or debit note be issued by the recipient, or it has to be compulsory by the supplier? Normal supplies. Normal forward charge transaction है. Let's say I am a supplier registered in the GST. You are customer registered in the GST. You are returning the goods. So instead of I issue the credit note, can you issue the debit note to me? Give me the answer. I'm asking very, very basic question. It will clarify the doubt. Various doubt, and then we will read the provision, no doubt. We will discuss the provision, no issue at all. The answer is no. In the GST, the credit note or debit note has to be issued by the supplier and it will be reported by the supplier in the GSTR 1. Suppose I am supplier. I have issued one tax invoice in January, one tax invoice in February, one tax invoice in March, and you are returning the goods, all three goods. Should I issue three credit notes separately, or I can issue the single credit note for all three tax invoice? आप लोग आंसर दीजिए. Give me the answer. Waiting for you. It can be a single credit note, three credit note. Okay. Okay. Asutosh. Okay. Answer is prior to amendment in 34 subsection 1, it was compulsorily. This amendment was happened long back, 2019. Prior to amendment, there was one-to-one linking. Means if I issue the three tax invoice, I have to compulsory issue three credit note. There is linking. One credit note, one tax invoice only. Think about Maruti Industries Limited. I am a Maruti Industries Limited. I have the lakhs of dealers to whom I am given the discount for which I will issue the GST credit note on or any turnover achievement. Now, for every dealer, I have multiple tax invoice. Let's say 100, 50, 70. Should I issue the individual credit note prior to the amendment? That was the requirement, creating a lot of problem. Hence, law was amended and they are saying, now let me highlight the word. Let me highlight the word. So they have added the word this or more, and they have added the word or more. This two word was added. Earlier, there was a requirement, one tax invoice, one credit note only. Now they can say there could be the multiple tax invoice, one credit note, valid. There can be the single tax invoice, multiple credit note. That is also valid. No one-to-one correlation. That relation has been delinked. Clear? I am issuing the tax invoice. I, being a supplier, will pay the tax to the government or will take back the tax from the government. Basic question. If I'm a supplier, I'm issuing the tax invoice. मैं टैक्स गवर्नमेंट को पे करूंगा या गवर्नमेंट से वापस लूंगा? Based on your understanding, kindly give the answer. I will pay the tax to the government. And if I will issue the credit note, will I pay the tax to the government or will I reduce the tax to the government? Will I pay the tax to the government or will I reduce my liability in the subsequent month? Or will I reduce my liability in subsequent month? जितना भी पे करना उससे कम कर दूंगा. If I will issue the credit note, my customer will take the ITC or will reverse the ITC? If I will issue the credit note, my customer will take the ITC or will reverse the ITC? Ashutosh, we will discuss. You have given the very nice example. We'll discuss if time permit now. We'll discuss at the end. 8:30 or 8:45 per we'll definitely discuss your question which you have given to me. Reverse the ITC, obviously. He will reverse the ITC. Correct. Now, I have made the supply to Mr. X. 1 lakh ka tax invoice, 18% ka tax. Now he is not making the payment to me. Can I issue the credit note? At least tax part I can save now. I have made the supply to Mr. A. He is not making the payment to me. I will issue the credit note. Is there any problem? Can I do those? Can I do so? Can I do so? Can I do so? मेरा कस्टमर पैसा नहीं दे रहा, मैंने तो गवर्नमेंट को पैसा दे दिया ना सर, एटलीस्ट गवर्नमेंट से तो वापस लेने दीजिए. My tax portion can I save by issuing the credit note? You tell me, can the GST credit note be possible if bad debt is there? Very, very nice question. Answer is no. We sold the goods, we can take back the ITC. You mean to say that I'll tell seller to issue the tax notice to me, is it? Do agree that is something written in the circular 72 we will discuss. But yes, prima facie credit note cannot be issued in this case. 4 possible circumstances are being given in the law. One, if the value, taxable value is exceeded. I was to raise the tax invoice for 1 lakh, but wrongly I have issued the tax invoice for 1,10,000. I can issue the credit note for 10,000. Tax. I was supposed to charge the GST 12%, but wrongly I have charged 18%. Can I reduce 6% by credit note? Yes. If goods are returned by the recipient, obviously, or goods or service found to be deficit. Circumstances, if out of the 4 you are having, then you can issue the credit note by charging the GST. Otherwise, supplier can never issue the GST credit note because he is reducing the liability. Now, is there any time limit to issue the credit note? Is there any time limit to issue the credit note? Yes. Is there any time limit to issue the credit note? Yes. It is exactly same. It is exactly same of 16.4. मेरा सेल्स लेट्स से फाइनेंशियल ईयर 23-24 का है. Assume that my sale is 23-24. In the month of December, you are returning the goods to me. Can I issue the GST credit note? No. No. What is the last date? The last date is being given here. 30th November, following the end of the financial year, or annual return, whichever is earlier. I think almost same time you have discussed, you have read in the 16.4. Similar time you have read in the 16.4, right? So what it is saying, registered person who issue the credit note in relation to the supply. Supply कौन से साल की है? Supplies of the financial year 23-24. It has to be declared by 30th November or annual return, whichever is earlier. So what is the last date? 30 November या annual return, whichever is earlier. Max to max, credit note can be declared by 30th November. Point to be noted. Point to be noted. The word is being used, declare. It is not issue. क्या फर्क पड़ता है? It is written as declare. It is not written as issue. What is the difference? Difference is, if you are returning the goods to me on 30th November, I have made the sales on 23-24. Now you are returning the goods. Today is 30th November. Can I issue the GST credit note? No. Because if I will issue the credit note on 30th November, on November, not 30th November, if I will issue the credit note in November, I will declare the same in December. GSTR1 and 3B. I will declare the same in the GSTR1 and GSTR3B in the month of December. But what is the last date? 30th November. Is it the last date to issue? No, sir. It is the last date to declare. Meaning thereby, max to max, it can be by October end. 30th October would be the 31st October would be the last date if it is a monthly, or if it is a QRMP, then depend upon B2B or B2C. What is the question? Question is that in case of the credit note, there is a time limit, and most important point, the time limit is not for issuance, time limit is for declaration. Declaration would be happen only after 1 month. So it means max to max, if you are monthly taxpayer, then you can issue the credit note by 31st October. Next is the credit note, same point are debit note. In the debit note, are you paying the tax to the government or you are reducing the tax to the government? If I am a supplier, I am issuing the debit note, क्या मैं गवर्नमेंट को टैक्स पे कर रहा हूं या गवर्नमेंट से टैक्स कम कर रहा हूं? आई एम रिड्यूसिंग माई लाइबिलिटी और आई एम इंक्रीजिंग माई लाइबिलिटी? Whether I'm reducing my liability, absolutely correct, increasing the liability. Ashutosh, you have the multiple question, very nice, but because we have the time of last half an hour in which I will unmute, but you are not in the Zoom. ठीक है, चल मैं कोशिश करूंगा लास्ट हाफ एन आवर में आंसर करने का. ठीक है, no problem. Because we are paying the tax, so will the government say that if we will pay the tax by 30th November, then okay, otherwise not pay the tax? क्या government will they impose any last date to pay the tax? Will government impose any last date to pay the tax? क्या गवर्नमेंट लास्ट डेट टू पे, उसके बाद टैक्स ही नहीं पे करना? आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट इंटरेस्ट, आई एम सेइंग दैट इफ यू विल नॉट पे द टैक्स, then you are not required to pay the tax at all. Therefore, there is no last date to issue the debit note. क्योंकि डेबिट नोट की गवर्नमेंट को, दिस आई एम सेइंग ओनली टू रिमेंबर कि why there is a time limit to credit note, why there is no time limit to debit note, because if you are paying the tax and you are dealing, you need to pay the interest. Similarly, the debit note can be issued only for if the value is, you have charged less taxable value, you charge less tax, then you can issue the debit note. Content of the debit note is almost same. Name, address, GST number, nature of the document, debit or credit note, executive serial number, date of the document, name, address, GST number, name, address, state code and the register. Problem is clause Z. If you are doing the articleship, you are engaged with any training, you are doing the job, this clause is very, very dangerous for. Is there any one-to-one interlinking required? Answer is no. Law has removed, but the content of the debit or credit note, still have the clause G. Content of the debit and credit note still have the clause G, means आपको GSTR 1 में तो रिपोर्ट नहीं करना. But if you are issuing the credit note for multiple tax invoice, give the reference in the credit note. अगर आप मल्टीपल डॉक्यूमेंट के लिए आप इश्यू करें, जिस कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग टैक्स इनवॉइस के लिए आपने क्रेडिट नोट इश्यू किया, काइंडली गिव द रेफरेंस. क्लॉज जी इज स्टिल अलाइव इन द डॉक्यूमेंट, in the content. Second, in the Rule 46 content of the tax invoice, we had discussed that yes, we need to report the HSN code and SSC code, correct? But in the debit note, credit note, there is no requirement. There is no requirement to put the HSN code or SSC code. If you read the clause A to clause I, you will not find the HSN code or SSC code. Might be it will change in the future, but yes, as of now, it is not required. Okay. Circular 72 is very interesting circular. Circular 72 is basically issued for the time expired medicine. Now let's say I'm the manufacturer of medicine, drugs, and you are my distributor. Now I have given the material to you, medicine to you, now which is expired, you will return to me. Now when you return to me, then it says that you can treat the fresh supply also. My God. Means purchase return can be considered as a sales by customer to supplier. If this is the case, then I can say it is one way of adjustment. It is one way of adjustment to breach the timeline of credit note. Suppose I have issued the tax invoice to you for medicine. Now you are returning to me after 30th November. Can I issue the GST credit note? Answer is no. But at the same time, you can treat the same as a fresh supply, means you are supplying to me. You can issue the tax invoice, no problem. For issuing the tax invoice, is there any time limit? No. That is one way. In case the person returning the time expired goods is a registered person other than composition, he at his option return the goods by treating as a fresh supply, thereby issuing the invoice. The value shown in the invoice on the basis of which the goods were supplied may be taken as the value of the return supply. The wholesaler or the manufacturer, now I become recipient of the return supply. I will take the ITC. In case the person returning the time expired medicine is a composition taxpayer, he may return the goods by issuing the bill of supply and pay the tax whatever it is applicable. In this case, there will be no ITC because you will not charge the tax to me. Second, in case the person returning the time expired is an unregistered, now it is a B2C supply. Then can you treat the same as a fresh supply? Yes, you can treat, but you will issue on the commercial document because you cannot issue the tax invoice, you cannot charge the GST. Now clause D says where the time expired goods have been destroyed by the manufacturer, then when you are giving the material to me, returning to me, okay, I will take the ITC. But ultimately, when I'm destroying, I need to reverse my ITC as per 17.5H. क्या है वो? What is that? Block credit. 17.5H, free sample, goods destroyed, disposed of, correct? It is pertinent to mention that ITC which is required to be reversed is the ITC availed on the return supply and not the ITC that is attributable on such time expired goods. Example, suppose manufacturer has availed the ITC of 10 at the time of manufacturing the medicine. At the time of returning the such medicine on account of expiry, now let's say you have made so I have sold you on 150, now you are returning at 150. You are charging GST at 15. So I have taken the ITC of 15. Now when I will reverse 15. return of time expired medicine by issuing credit note. Perfect scenario. That because 34(1) is giving the permission to issue the credit note, I will issue the credit note. Then if I will issue the credit note, then there is a time limit, right? So if I will issue the credit note by 30th, not by 30th November, if I will be able to declare the credit note by 30th November, no problem. I can issue the GST credit note to you for time expired medicine. But if the time limit is crossed, then I will issue the commercial credit note or financial credit note. Can anybody tell me the difference between financial credit note and GST credit note? The difference is GST credit note will have the GST and supplier will be able to reduce the liability. But if it is financial credit note or commercial credit note, it can be issued without GST, and because it is without GST, there is no time limit. मैं अगर बिना GST का क्रेडिट नोट आपको इश्यू कर रहा हूं, then there will be no time limit now because I'm not reducing my liability. I'm not reducing my tax liability. So therefore, financial credit note or commercial credit note can be issued at any point of time. Why it is written September? Because 30th November is being now inserted. Earlier it was that September ka due date. So that I have explained. Second clause, return of time expired medicine by issuing. The second clause C says that 34. Yeah, that I have explained. Okay. Date of supply of the goods from manufacturer to the retailer 1st July 17. Date of return September 18. Treatment in the tax liability and credit note. Credit note will be issued by the manufacturing company and same will be uploaded by him on the common portal. Tax liability can be adjusted, either not avail the ITC or if avail the ITC, has to reverse the ITC. Recipient. Case 2, date of the supply is 1st July. Now date of returning the goods is 20th of October. Then there is no requirement to upload the same on the common portal because it will be without GST. It will be the financial credit note, commercial credit note. It is not the GST credit note, and therefore the liability can't be adjusted by the supplier. We will not take the GST credit. So ज्ञानेंद्र बिल्कुल ठीक है. जस्ट थोड़ा सा मैं अप्रोप्रिएट कहूं तो ये बोलूंगा कि कॉमर्शियल क्रेडिट नोट में supplier will not reduce the liability, will not adjust the tax liability. ठीक है. Facility of digital payment to the recipient. The government on the recommendation of the council prescribed the class of the registered person who shall provide the mode of the electronic payment to the recipient and give the option to make the payment electronically. We will discuss the e-invoicing dynamic QR code. Prohibition of unauthorized collection of tax. Obviously, no one can collect the tax if it is not registered. And the tax invoice has to be declared. Amount of the tax should be indicated in the tax invoice and document. Rule section 33 says that anything any supply is made, every person who is liable to pay the tax prominently indicate in all the document relating to assessment, tax invoice, other document, etc. Now we will discuss e-invoicing. Let's take a break of only 5 minutes. We will resume at 8:10. 8:10, just 5 minutes में आते हैं, and then we will start the e-invoicing and we will take up the question also. तो जी अजीत जी 5 मिनट का ब्रेक. So if anyone like to ask any question, you can simply raise your hand. I will unmute and then you can speak with me. We will have the last provisions that e-invoicing, yes, that we are discussing right now. But अगर किसी को कोई भी क्वेश्चन पूछना है, you can unmute yourself, raise your hand, I will unmute and then you can ask the question. मीनवाइल हम स्टार्ट करते हैं डिस्कशन करना। अभी जैसे ग्रुप में मैं आशुतोष का क्वेश्चन ले रहा हूं क्योंकि आशुतोष हैज आस्क्ड मल्टीपल क्वेश्चन। सो आशुतोष हैज आस्क्ड वन क्वेश्चन। Correct. Asutosh has asked one question. Asutosh, because see, if I'm a supplier, if I am issuing the commercial credit note, you being a recipient required to reverse the ITC or not? You have asked very valid question. You asked very valid question. So, for the benefit of all Zoom participant also. Asutosh, basically this question is pertaining to ITC, so I will not means say that this is exactly related to this chapter, but still I will answer. If I read the second proviso to section 16 subsection 2, where it is says, which says that you need to reverse your ITC. You read that proviso, it says that fail to pay to the supplier within 180 days. मैं सही बोल रहा हूं ना? आशुतोष, the word is written that fail to pay to the supplier. Fail to pay to the supplier within 180 days. Suppose if I'm issuing the commercial credit note, is you liable to pay to me? Are you liable to pay to me? Their answer would be no. You are not failure to pay at least, because my books of accounts will be reduced. I have the balance reduced. You also have the balance, no balance. Then in that case, this question of failure to pay would be the question mark. It will be decided by the higher authority. I cannot answer, but yes, the word failure to pay should be highlighted. In the exam also, if this question comes some, then you should highlight the word failure to pay, because it is not failure to pay. In my opinion, in my basic understanding, that proviso will not be attracted. This is my view. Prima facie, this is my view. But yes, depending upon the situation, it need to analyze. You have asked the practical question, so I've given the practical reply. You have also asked one more question. That's sir, 30th number, why not 20th of October? See, Ashutosh, for that I would like to say that in the entire law, wherever it is written September ka due date, so they've made it 30th November, probably because of tax audit. I don't know exact reason, I don't know, but I feel that because it is of tax audit mostly, and then in it can be due date of the October. Fully agree with you. It can be the due date of October 20th would be the last date, but they have made it 30th. This is a question on registration. Okay, we'll discuss. Surely we'll discuss. So I can say, sir, that could be the one reason. So they have not made different time limit. In 16.4, they have made the time limit of 30th November. In 34.2, they have made the same time limit. Similar time limit you will understand in the written chapter, like 37 subsection 3. So the similar time limit has been given in the law. Is that clear? Kindly confirm, so that I can move to your next question. But meanwhile, I will take the one question of Hemant. Hemant has asked the question that a second. Sir, a taxable person is located in Karnataka, fine, supplying the goods to Mizoram, and it also sells the goods locally, that is in Karnataka. If the turnover in Mizoram exceed 10 lakh, it has to take registration in Mizoram. See, point number one, what do you mean by branch? Can I say that it is distinct person? हेमंत, एक बार आप अपने आप को अनम्यूट करो, मैं आपको अनम्यूट करो. If you would be able to speak, it would be great.
So, sir, Mizoram is distinct person, sir.
Fine. तो सेल कहां से हो रहा है? Sale is from
Sale-
Karnataka to Mizoram.
सेल मिजोरम में हो रहा है, इसका ऑफिस कर्नाटका में है, सो अपना ब्रांच को वो सेल भेज रहा है इन मिजोरम. इट इज सेलिंग नहीं, इट इज
Purchasing.
ओके ओके, it is selling to Mizoram branch, and Mizoram branch makes supply to
So now the
customer.
point is, now there are two transactions.
Right.
Karnataka to Mizoram. Can I
It's
say it
on-
is interested?
Yes, interested.
And if we go to the section 24, clause 1, it says that interstate taxable supply of the goods, it's compulsory registration.
Oh, okay.
Karnataka has to take mandatory registration. There is no other
Oh.
choice.
But it is 20 lakhs, na, sir? Okay, understood now.
Fine. Next question. Sutos has asked, sir, I have one more question which I will ask in the written chapter. No problem. And in our goods from supplier, the first we will issue the credit debit note and then tell supplier to issue the debit credit note. It's on him whether they will issue or not, because we are taking the lesser ITC. No problem. You are doing perfect, no issue. But the problem would come now because of introduction of invoice management system. So if you will reduce your ITC now, once he will issue the credit note, you won't be able to accept. So there is some problem that we will discuss in the written chapter. We are not going to discuss right now. We'll discuss in the written chapter dedicatedly. Okay. Why he has given the separate registration for ISD instead of giving the option in the north? I do agree, Asutosh. There was a choice. But the possibility for cross charging, raising the invoice, would not be so much, I can say, from the, see, raising the tax invoice from the distinct person, even for services, would be used as a tax planning. Might be, if I say, therefore might be there is of the view, because it is the policy decision, we can't say why they have taken this. But goods, I can say that ISD is only for services. If they are issuing the goods, then what compulsory is to issue the tax invoice? So why not for services? So reason I don't know, but yes, that could be also one of the possibility. Any other point, please, Ashutosh, kindly confirm. Second view for confusion. And say, sir. Hemant has asked another question. If the threshold limit is satisfied, and supplier shall be liable to be registered in the state from where he make a taxable supplies. Establishment. See, what is the meaning of place of business? In that they've used the establishment. See, there could be the two possibility. I have some location from where I'm making the supply. Hemant, एक बार मैं answer करता हूँ. There could be the two possibility. I am temporarily coming in Delhi, and from Delhi I'm making the supply. There could be the one possibility. Second possibility, that I am from Delhi. Obviously, I would have some location from where I'm making the supply.
Right, yeah. But there is no mention of fixed establishment in this section, in this subsection.
Section में requirement नहीं है ना, क्योंकि taxable supply जब तुम कर रहे हो, तो it could be the two possibility ना, कि you are having the fixed establishment or you are not having the fixed establishment. 22(1) is saying that you need to take registration, right?
Correct.
Now you need to take which registration? If you have the establishment, you will go under regular category. If you do not have the establishment, you might go to the casual taxable person category.
Sir, if it is a normal category, does any rule say that I should have a fixed establishment?
Place of business का definition.
Place of business, it says the place where the business is ordinarily carried on. That is the definition in place of business. Or where he maintains the books of account.
Okay. Where he store the goods also. Correct?
Okay. So there the three alternatives are there. Business is
Right.
normally carried on, books of account being maintained, and then he is a place of storing the goods.
Right.
But should it be a fixed establishment? Fixed establishment, it says in definition, it will be some kind of a permanence.
See, if you have some location, it will be in the permanent category now.
Oh,
What do you
okay.
mean by permanent?
Suppose
Suppose
it
I
takes.
have taken this office on rent. Hemant, let's say I have taken this office on rent only for, let's say,
Okay.
3 months. So,
Yes.
but property is permanent now.
Oh, you are saying property. If I take 3 months rent, will it be called as a fixed establishment?
100%. See,
Oh,
you
okay.
tell me that will it be that every office should be owned by me only? Then only I can do the business? Answer is no.
No, but I thought it should be a longer duration. If I'm taking
No,
on rent,
not necessary.
yeah,
Not
not
necessary.
necessary. Oh, okay, sir. Okay, sir.
ठीक ठीक है. So Gyanendra has asked one question, and if we issue the credit note related to 23-24 and file the GSTR1 on 17, you file GSTR1 before 30th November. Very interesting question. Gyanendra, are you able to speak?
Yes,
Would
sir.
you be able to speak? Great.
Yes,
अब
sir.
लिया आपने. नहीं, why you are saying 17th November? Because of GSTR2B?
Yeah, we got GSTR 2B, yes, sir.
Why you are putting
And
the date
also
of
related
17th
with,
November? Just because of 2B only क्या?
yeah, just 2B because due date is GSTR1 filing date is 11.
Clear. Let me answer. Because credit note is not the document for taking the ITC, it is the reversal of ITC. एग्री? ज्ञानेंद्र, अगर मैं क्रेडिट नोट इश्यू कर रहा हूं तो आप अपनी आईटीसी लेंगे नहीं, आईटीसी कम करेंगे, राइट?
Yes, reduce करो, मैं liability tax liability में reduce कर रहा हूँ इसमें से.
तो GSTR1 अगर मैं 30 नवंबर के पहले फाइल करता हूं, whether it is within due date or it is after due date, it is immaterial. I can reduce my liability if I will declare by 30th November. It can be after the due date, obviously, because more or less is the 11 or 13. But if I will report the 30th November of October GSTR1, obviously it will be after date. But will there be any problem? No problem. I would be able to reduce because earlier they were having the word due date. Now they are having the cutoff date 30th November.
Okay, sir.
Sir, is there any impact if one do not have the practical knowledge of the GST? Because sometime I have to take some time. Yes, absolutely correct, Ginny. It is not required. Point number one, it is not required. Might be you have the basic understanding or you won't have the basic understanding, but it won't create the problem to understand the law. Mostly you are getting the problem to understand when I am giving the answer to the question raised by the participant. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
तो बेटा एक ही बात कहना है, might be you are not able to understand because sometimes they are asking their personal problem, practical problem, not the law related problem or not the problems of the books.
Yes, sir.
There you get the problem to understand the same because it is not practically, you are not having the experience too much.
Yes, sir.
It is perfectly fine to clear the CA final exam. It won't create too much problem. Once you clear the CA, you will definitely come into the practical part.
Yes, sir, I want to, but
Definitely. No issue at all. Try to understand, and better part, you have the recording of this particular every lecture of the institute. Watch the recording multiple times. Still, if you won't have any problem, if you find problem to understand, ask in the subsequent class. I will be able to answer.
okay, sir.
ठीक है ना? That would be great.
एक्चुअली सभी लोग यानी क्वेश्चंस कर रहे हैं तो यानी थोड़ा सा थोड़ा दिक्कत हो रहा था समझने में, जो यानी कुछ फॉर्म्स और फाइलिंग, रिटर्न फाइलिंग वगैरह में थोड़ा सा
बेटा रिटर्न की क्लास तो हमारी है ही है, अभी 2 क्लास तो नेक्स्ट इसके बाद की क्लास की जो भी है रिटर्न्स वी हैव द क्लास एंड वेयर इन वी विल डिस्कस.
Yes,
तो
sir.
ऐसा हो सकता है कि जब वो क्लास कंप्लीट होगी यू
Yes.
वॉच दिस वीडियो अगेन एंड प्रोबेबली यू कैन कनेक्ट द डॉट.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
ठीक है ना. उसके
Yes.
बाद भी नहीं समझ में आया तो मैं तो हुई हूँ आपकी मुझे पूरा फरवरी आपको पढ़ाना है, मार्च में भी इनिशियली फर्स्ट वीक में हूँ आपके साथ, तो यू कैन आस्क द क्वेश्चन.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
बट मुझे पार्टिसिपेंट को रिप्लाई करने के लिए ये प्रैक्टिकली को टच करना जरूरी है. उनके पर्टिकुलर जो पॉइंट है उनको समझाने के लिए मुझे उनके
Yes,
पॉइंट
sir.
को एक्सप्लेन करना पड़ेगा. दैट इज द रीजन.
Yes, sir. I really enjoy to understand each and every point,
Thank you.
but I feel hesitate that I don't have any such questions.
करेक्ट बेटा. तो सिर्फ इतना पॉइंट है कि आपको समझने में थोड़ा सा दिक्कत हो सकता है, बट आप इसको प्रैक्टिकल क्लास के बाद ऐड करेंगे तो आप समझ जाएंगे. बार बार देखेंगे तो समझ जाएंगे. 2 या 3 तरीके में से कोई ना कोई एक तरीका आपको समझने में हेल्प करेगा.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
ना. Okay. Now let me go to the last part of invoicing. E-invoicing is invoicing would be sorry, एक मिनट. E-invoicing would be for see we have discussed in the rule 48.4 key that rule 48.4 that government can notify. So government have notified which class of the person. They are saying every registered person. So it means if you are registered, e-invoicing is applicable. Other than they have excluded government department, local authority, SEZ unit. Please note, very very important, it is not SEZ developer. It means if the supplier is SEZ unit, they are exempted. If the supplier is SEZ developer, they are not exempted from invoicing. And further, they have exempted sub-rule 2, transporter, sub-rule 3, passenger transportation service, sub-rule 4 and sub-rule 4A. So goods transport agency, passenger transportation service, then multiplex screen cinema and banking company are being excluded. So sub-rule 2 is sorry, it is banking company. 4 are being excluded. If I will stop the discussion and go to the next page, then I can answer the question that who all are exempted from e-invoicing: government department, local authority, SEZ unit, insurance banking, GTA, passenger transportation, multiplex. Why I have mentioned the sub rule? Because the exemption has been given and we have already discussed in detail 54.2, 54.3, 54.4, everything we have discussed. So you can go back and check. These are exempted. Quickly give me the answer. What is the time limit to issue the tax invoice if I have sent the goods on approval? अगर मैंने sales on approval किया है, what is the maximum time limit to issue the tax invoice? Give me the answer in the chat. Thank you so much. It's 6 months. It's 6 months. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And bill of supply will be issued in 2 cases. Bill of supply would be issued in 2 cases. Quickly tell me in which case. Bill of the supply would be issued in 2 cases. Bill of supply would be issued in 2 cases. First is exempted goods, second is composition. Absolutely correct. Quickly give me the answer. Payment voucher or self invoice. Which document would be required whether supplier is registered or not registered in both the cases? In case of the RCM transaction, irrespective of the supplier status, which document will always be prepared? I'm repeating, there are two documents for RCM, self-invoice and payment voucher. Which document would always be prepared whether supplier is registered or unregistered? Answer is payment voucher, not self-invoice. Not self-invoice. Self-invoice would be prepared only when supplier is unregistered. Suppose I'm taking the services or goods from registered person. Let's say I'm taking the services from the transporter who is registered. Do I need to make the self-invoice? No. No. Quickly tell me, what is the time limit to make the self-invoice? What is the time limit to make the self-invoice? What is the time limit to make the self-invoice? Answer is 30 days from the date of the receipt of the goods or services. From the 30 days or from the date of the receipt of the goods or services. Time limit to issue the invoice in case of service is 45 days. When? Time limit to issue the invoice in case of services is 45 days. When? 45 days कब होगा? Can you tell me any? Answer is banking company, financial institution, NBFC. Can you give me any one category of the, only not one? Can you tell me who can have the consolidated tax invoice on monthly basis? Who can issue the consolidated tax invoice or any document on monthly instead of transaction wise? On consolidated, monthly consolidated basis पे टैक्स इनवॉइस या कोई भी डॉक्यूमेंट इश्यू कर सकता है? आंसर इज एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट, बैंकिंग कंपनी इंश्योरेंस, रूल 54 सब रूल 2. What is the time limit to issue the debit note? What is the time limit to issue the debit note? What is the time limit to issue the debit note? No time limit. Very nice, very nice. Be there. I will ask the multiple question in between of the discussion. I will ask the multiple question in between of the discussion. Remain attentive in the class. I hope you all are enjoying the discussion. I hope you all are enjoying the discussion, especially this type of the rapid fire round of the question answer. एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन अभी का, उसके बाद वापस पढ़ाई करेंगे एंड देन वी अगेन विल कम बैक टू द क्वेश्चन आंसर. Simply tell me any one category who is exempted from e-invoice. Any one category who is exempted from e-invoice. Absolutely correct. Fine. Now they are saying that these are exempted. They are saying that any registered person having the turnover more than 5 crore. Initially it was 100 crore, 50 crore, then 20 crore, then 10 crore. But as on date, it is more than 5 crore. And what is the word being used? Preceding financial year from 17-18 onward. Give me the answer to question. 24-25. If on today my turnover cross 5 crore, my turnover cross 5 crore first time in the life, do I need to make the invoicing from tomorrow or from next year? आज की तारीख में मेरा total sale is being more than 5 crore today only, first time, do I need to prepare invoice from tomorrow or from next year? Next year. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Next year. Okay. Then always any preceding financial year, in any year, if my turnover more than 5 crore, let's say in 18-19 was my turnover was 6 crore, and after that my turnover was never crossed 5 crore, do I need to still prepare the e-invoice? In 18-19, it was 5 crore, more than 5 crore. But after that, it was not cross 5 crore. Do I need to still prepare the invoice or not applicable? I will always prepare e-invoice अगर एक बार भी मेरा टर्नओवर क्रॉस कर गया, if my turnover exceed 5 crore in any one of the year, any preceding financial year, I will always be under the e-invoicing requirement. Is it for B2B or B2C? Is it for B2B or B2C? Answer is only for B2B. Answer is only for B2B. But for B2C, they have added export. They have added export because obviously my outside customer, foreign customer will definitely do not have the Indian GST number. Will definitely do not have the Indian GST number. Correct. So for that transaction, which is export, I need to prepare e-invoicing. And for B2B, I need to prepare invoice. For B2C domestic transaction, e-invoicing is not applicable. Okay. This part I am not explained when I was reading the or discussing the rule 46. What is that? Content of the tax invoice. That's in QR code having embedded IRN if the invoice is issued under Rule 48 sub Rule 4. If you go to our Board of Studies material, you will find one sample e-invoice. So in which you will find that one QR code is there and one IRN number is there. Okay. These are the two minimum requirement on the e-invoice. Then they are saying एक declaration. What is the declaration? That declaration is your turnover is more than specified limit, like example 5 crore, but you are not required to prepare invoicing because you are exempted, like banking company, like SEZ unit, government, transporter, multiplex screen, any category. So they are saying because your aggregate turnover is more than the limit notified, but you are not required to issue the invoice in the 48.4 because you are exempted. So then you will have to give the declaration. We hereby declare that our aggregate turnover is more than the aggregate turnover, but we are not required to prepare the invoice in terms of the said rule. There was one clarification, circular 186 was issued that whether invoicing would be exempted for transaction wise or entire industry, entire organization. Suppose I am XYZ bank. I am definitely doing the banking transaction and also I am selling the jewelry. Do I need to make the e-invoicing on sale of gold, jewelry or any other goods or any other transaction which are not banking transaction? It has been clarified by the circular that no, e-invoicing is exempted to that entire organization. So if Banking company provide the banking services, may also be involved in making some supply of the goods like bullion, jewelry, etc. Said banking company is exempted from all supplies of goods or services. In the invoicing, you will regularly use three terms: IRP, IRN, QR code. What is IRP? IRP is the government notified e-portal for generating the e-invoicing or IRN. These are the 10 portal which has been notified as on date. Second, IRN and QR code. What is that? So let me move. So you are the seller. When you do prepare the invoicing, either you can download the utility and fill the utility, upload the same. You can use any software of the market. Let's say I'm using Tally. Tally has the integration. Example, I'm using the any other software which are already have the integrated. So my accounting software are being integrated with the e-invoice portal. Then once I prepare the invoice in my accounting, automatically it will travel to invoice portal, IRP portal. It will travel to IRP portal. Then it will fetch the QR code and IRN number. IRN is the uniqueness. So what they will do, the IRP portal will sign the invoice. So they will be the digital signature. Send the invoice to the GST system, add the QR code and IRN number. It will again be made available to the seller. Seller will upload the same in the GSTR1. Buyer would be able to see in the GSTR2B. GSTR2B, it will be automatically updated. So this will be the way of QR code, invoice registration portal IRP will generate the QR code having the IRN. IRN is also being used hash, some important parameter. So QR code will consist of following parameters: GSTIN, invoice number, date of generation, invoice value, number of line item adjustment code, unique reference number, etc. The cancellation of e-invoice will have the same time limit which e-way bill has. E-way bill can also be cancelled within 24 hours. In the same matter, invoicing can be cancelled within 24 hours. If the time limit is crossed, you cannot cancel. Also, you cannot make the amendment in e-invoicing. Okay. But e-invoicing has been used for generating the e-way bill. To cancel the e-invoicing, you have to first cancel the e-way bill, then only you can cancel the e-invoice. One more clarification regarding that government. Okay, tell me one thing. Tell me one thing. Just now I can understand. I can recall one question. Tell me one thing. At one place, we have discussed that government who are registered only for the purpose of Section 51, that is TDS category, they will not be considered as registered person, where we have discussed. Very important question. It is very important question. At one provision, while explaining in the explanation, it is written that government who are registered for the purpose of Section 51 will be understand something like that. कहाँ पे पढ़ा था और क्या उसका relevance था? Where we have discussed this and what was the relevance? Government who is registered for the purpose of TDS Section 51. Government who is registered for the purpose of Section 51 will be considered as unregistered. कहाँ पे पढ़ा था? See, try to understand. Now, मैं almost हमारा class complete हो रहा है, but let me explain you one thing. ये provision, ये चीज आप हमेशा ध्यान रखें. Let me explain you one very good thing to you. In the GST, the government who is registered only for yes under section 51. If such case is there, sometimes they will be treated as registered person and sometimes they will be treated as unregistered person. कभी उसको बोल देंगे it will be considered as unregistered person. Sometime they will say that it is, sometime they will say it is to be treated as registered person. I'll give you one example, today chapter only. But what I like to say that section 51, government is having one GST number that is for some special purpose, deduction of TDS. Will it be unregistered or will it be registered? There is no direct answer. Believe me, friend, this point you have to be thorough because at multiple place you will find that this is unregistered. Anybody can give me the example for today class? Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. I really appreciate Gyanendra. You have given the correct answer. बहुत अच्छा लगा बेटा. In case of RCM supplies, where we have discussed the concept of self-invoice. Let me go to the slide. Read this clause, read this explanation. Government who is registered for the purpose of TDS is treated as unregistered for the purpose of the clause F. Meaning thereby, if I'm a government, let's say I am making the supply to you which are covered under RCM. Do you need to prepare the self-invoice? Answer is yes, because I will be treated as unregistered for the purpose of this clause. Similar example, let me explain in the circular that when, let's say, I am making the supply to government. I am education institute, let's say. I am ICAI or I am a chartered accountant doing the consulting. My customer is government. My customer is government. Who is government? Only for the purpose of TDS. So he has the TDS GST number. Do I need to prepare e-invoicing? If he is B2B, if he is registered person, then I will prepare the invoice. But if he is treated as unregistered, then I will not prepare the invoicing. Is it clear? The question is clear. The question comes, my turnover is more than 5 crore. My customer is government. Which government? Who is having the only GST number for the purpose of section 51 TDS. Now I am raising my tax invoice to the government because I am doing the compliance. Now the question is, do I need to prepare e-invoicing also or not? Why this question comes? Because the e-invoicing provision we have discussed that e-invoicing is applicable to B2B transaction only. Invoicing is applicable to B2B transaction. B2C only export are into the ambit of e-invoicing, otherwise not. So if it is B2B, answer is yes. If it is B2C, answer is no. So that has been clarified that for the purpose of e-invoicing, not for the purpose of invoicing, government who are having the section 51 registration is a registered person only. So therefore, while filing the GSTR1, I will report as B2B transaction. When I'm making the invoice, I will prepare e-invoicing if my turnover is more than prescribed limit. The government who is registered for the purpose of section 51, it is not unregistered, it is registered person only. Last part, dynamic QR code. Dynamic QR code. What is the dynamic QR code? Sometime you have seen or you have noticed now that if you go to the big organization, let's say I'm going to the big bazaar, or let's say I'm going to the Reliance market, they are making the invoice, and once you scan, automatically amount will come. Let's say I'm going to the small shop where I'm purchasing the goods. He's giving one code, I'm scanning that code and I'm putting the number manually. कितने का पेमेंट करना है? Let's say ₹20, ₹100. I need to enter the amount, but at some place when I'm scanning the code, amount will automatically come. Have you noticed that? Just confirm. Have you
Yes,
noticed
sir.
that?
In ICAI
What?
forms also, if we pay the fees by the QR code or Bhim UPI, the amount will get automatically filled.
The reason is dynamic QR code. The reason is dynamic QR code. What is the reason? The provision says that if your turnover is more than 500 crore, mandatory provision is there. Optionally, no, everyone can compile the same, but mandatory, I'm saying, if see, try to understand either e-invoice or dynamic QR code. E-invoicing is applicable to B2B or B2C? B2B. Is it applicable to export? Yes. So dynamic QR code is for B2C, not for B2B. Not for B2B, it is for B2C. What is the dynamic QR code? Dynamic QR code is QR code which is attached to, which is linked to the single transaction only. Meaning thereby, if you scan that QR code has the multiple information in the backend, your invoice number, your detail, etc. Also, once you scan, they will give you the exact amount. So the amount is also being linked. So they are saying if it is your turnover is more than 500 crore, in case of B2C, you have to display one dynamic QR code, which is digital display, and then you will prompt the payment through digital mechanism. So that is the dynamic QR code. So I would suggest एक बार आप study material में जाना. They have given the circular also in this dynamic QR code, and normally e-invoicing, multiple circular was issued to give the clarity on the various doubts. So you can read for your understanding. But more or less, we have covered everything in the chapter. So any question, I will happy to take any question if you have. From my side, the chapter is completed. I also let me tell you that whatever the content of the tax invoice, other than so content of the tax invoice we have discussed, debit credit note we have discussed, delivery chalan we have discussed. However, like what would be the content of the bill of supply? What would be the content of the receipt voucher? What would be the content of the refund voucher? What would be the content of payment voucher? What would be the content of the revised invoice? Everything I have given, I will give this study material to the institute. They will arrange to upload the same. Okay. Any question? Please ask in the chat or sir, QR code should be displayed in the business premises or in the tax invoice. Normally tax invoice. या वो जो इनवॉइस बनाएंगे तो ऑटोमेटिकली दे विल शो यू ऑन द डिजिटल, नॉर्मली वो जो मशीन होती है, वो मशीन जिससे पेमेंट लेते हैं, जिसको पीओएस मशीन बोलते हैं, on that they will display the QR code. Because it cannot be affixed to the business, because it is not static, it is dynamic. Dynamic means like changing on every transaction. Credit note related with B2B supply, there is general penalty can be levied. If I read the section 122, or if I will read, let's say section 125, if it is not coming, or 122 subsection 3 clause, there is a clause E. So I can simply say, let's say I'm a GST officer and I come to your premises and you are saying that I've issued this type of the credit note to my customer, but correspondingly you have not issued e-invoicing. You have not made QR code, dynamic QR code with IRN for that credit note. See, for all the understanding, 3 documents are in the ambit of invoice: tax invoice, debit note and credit note. अगर आपने टैक्स इनवॉइस इश्यू किया, डेबिट नोट बनाया या क्रेडिट नोट बनाया, these 3 would be routed through IRP, invoice register, मतलब e-invoice portal. So there will be no harm, but the problem is, Gyanan, the problem is the GST portal, after the expiry of the 30 days, they will not allow you to report the same. Point number 1. Point number 2, there would always be the risk. There would always be the risk of the penalty levied by the officer, either under 122 or under 125 or any other section. There would always be the risk. Any other question? QR code should be displayed. Sir, above question answer. So I have given the answer now. QR code should not be displayed in the business premises because it is not the static QR code, it is the dynamic. Please take my last question regarding drafting letter. यार, so that is वो एक सुनिए ना, करत करत अभ्यास के जड़मत यो सुजान. That is one says correct. करत करत अभ्यास के जड़मत यो सुजान, रसरी आवाज जात के सिल पर पड़त निशान. So Ashutosh, I can say only this thing, that you read the paper language, read the judgment, draft the judgment in your own language. Your drafting will be improved. Any other question? Read the letter, read the judgment, read the normal English letter also. And now we have the multiple technology also. Now you can use that technology as well. I will give it to the institute and they will arrange to upload. I think I have not given the last. Probably I have not given. So my last wala or abhi wala dono I will give. Both I will give. So thank you very much. Then good night to all of you. We'll meet in the next class. And I hope everything is okay. Goodbye to all.
Thank you, sir.
Goodbye. Thank you. Session over.